Hello everybody. I'm going to run through DxO's PureRAW photo editing utility, and we'll be doing that right after this. Alrighty, so thanks for sticking with me. As I said, today we're going over DxO's PureRAW photo editing utility. I'll start off with a little bit about what PureRAW is, and I've got the interface on the screen at the moment. But PureRAW is basically a utility that allows you to take your raw images and apply DxO's lens correction and also noise reduction technologies to those specific images. So it's designed for people who don't really use DxO's Photo Lab 4, which has all of these things in it anyway. So if you do have Photo Lab 4, then this is really not going to be of any benefit to you. But if you haven't really used any of the DxO stuff, you might find some benefit in using DxO's PureRAW to basically try and improve the image quality of your images, your older raw images, through things like noise reduction, applying image corrections, and those sorts of things. So with that in mind, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up a couple of different images to show you examples of what this program can do. And really it's broken down into two sections. One is that it can do optical correction. So it understands your specific camera and lens parameters and allows you to sort of improve those. And the other is noise reduction. So we have the interface here. I've just opened this up in its standalone form, but you can pass images into here. And you can take them out of here as well. So you could open up from Lightroom, for example, and send to PureRAW, or send from PureRAW to other areas. So I'm going to start off dragging a night photo in here. And what you'll notice is it brings up Dxo Optics Modules. What this is doing is it's identifying from the EXIF the metadata from your photo, what this was taken with, what sort of camera and what sort of lens. And it's really important for it to understand that, because that's how it applies the lens correction. If it doesn't understand what camera and what lens was used, it won't be able to do lens correction. Now, I don't have examples where it won't understand it, so I'm not sure what its error handling will be, whether it will just say, I don't understand, or whether it might crash or something else. So, but for most lenses and camera combinations, it does have a good idea. So it's identified the Nikon D610 and the Tamron 15 to 30 millimeter. And on the right hand side, it says it's already been downloaded. If it hadn't, you would click on download selection. Once it's downloaded, you would then click on save. So this has opened up the image. I'm just going to click on process photos. If I've got multiple photos, then I can do the same thing. And up here is raw processing. So there are three different methods that it can apply: HQ, prime, or deep prime. HQ is normal images. It's fairly simple noise reduction, and it doesn't require a lot of processing to do it. Prime tends to be better for low light images, but does take a little bit more time and processing power. And deep prime is the highest of the lot. And so if you have a system that it can support it, I would suggest to process in deep prime, because you're going to get the best noise reduction using deep prime. Now, you can output in JPEG or DNG. My suggestion would always be to output in DNG, so you keep a little bit more information and you can pick where you want to export it or save it. So I'm going to click on process, and it's going to start processing and telling me how long it's going to take. And it reckons about 20 seconds or so. based on this, I'd say it's maybe a little bit quicker, but maybe that's just my judgment. So what we're going to do once this is done is I'm going to open up the image in View Results. Now I could click Export to and export it to Lightroom or Photoshop or wherever else. In this case, I just want to show you the example of what it did. So I'll click View Results, and on the left-hand side is the before, and on the right-hand side is the after. So it does two things here. You'll see the image has changed, so it's actually moved in a bit, so it's done some lens correction. But what you'll also notice, if I zoom in a little bit, is there's a bit of noise around the waves and in the sky on the left-hand side, and on the right-hand side, that noise is really gone. So it has done a really good job of removing that noise whilst retaining the overall quality of the image. Because noise reduction can be really difficult. If you go too hard on noise reduction, you can start to lose a lot of detail. So, I think for a first example, that's really quite good. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pick another photo, and I'm going to pick a portrait of my son this time. And again, same thing, it's brought up the camera and the lens. I've already downloaded it, so I'm just going to click on Save. So now I'm going to process this photo. Again, Deep Prime, DNG, and Process. And it's going to start to process this and give me an update along the bottom of how it's going. So once this is finished, again, we'll have a look and we'll see how it's come up. So I'm going to click on View Results. And again, on the left-hand side is the before, on the right-hand side is the after. So you'll see it's done a couple of things. There is a little bit of noise in the background that it's cleaned up. It's also done a fair bit of lens correction, and arguably it's improved the sharpness a little bit as well. So you can see that has made a pretty big difference to the raw photo. And what I could then do after this is to take this and edit this in Export to Application, and I could export it to, I use Affinity Photo or Lightroom or Photoshop or a whole range of other programs. So this is a really useful utility. Like I said, it's really for people who don't have Photo Lab 4. If you have Photo Lab 4 and it's the version that does support Deep Prime, there's really no benefit in this for you because it does all of that within Photo Lab 4. But if you're looking for something that can do noise reduction at the raw stage, it can also apply things like lens corrections and so on. And you don't necessarily want all of the other stuff that comes in Photo Lab 4, then I think this is a really useful utility to take your images, do the improvements, and then pass them across to whatever your photo editing software is. For example, you could take your photos back into Lightroom and continue to edit on Lightroom. One thing that I haven't exactly shown on this is batch processing. So it can do batch processing with photos as well. So you could bring in all of your photos, batch process them, and edit them as well. So I think that is a really useful utility. Like I said though, it really depends what you use as to whether this is for you. As always, I would recommend that there are trials. So if you are interested in this, it's worth having a look at the trial to see how it works on your computer and if it works for you. So I hope this has been useful. If so, give a thumbs up. If you've got any questions, leave a comment in the questions below, and thanks for watching. Always do it on my own, so I gotta get through it. And the only thing I know is to love what I'm doing. Never give up, never slow, till I finally prove it. Never listen to the no's, I just wanna keep moving. Yeah, I put out all this art, it's my only medicine. Yeah, everything I do, I'm just being genuine. Yeah, I'm sick of being screwed, feel my own adrenaline. Yeah, I do just what I do, and I hope you let me in, yeah.